All right, we're going to do a garden tour. We'll start with the squashes. So that's like I think it's called patty pan. And I already pulled, there's a bee. Hello. I already pulled a couple zucchinis because you're supposed to pull things before the sun's been on them all day. Yeah, the cauliflower, I think it got too hot because the ones over by the compost pile, the compost bin, like bolted. Ooh. Ooh, there's a lot of bees in this one. Jeez. But yeah, there's a zucchini. And I kind of segregated this one because it has the squash bugs. And so I said that they could have this one plant, but I pulled it over here so that they wouldn't crawl over, and take over all the plants. And I guess when you have squash in the ground, you want to, separate them so that, the squash bugs can't travel and take over every plant. And that's another one of those patty pan. It's a different color. So yeah, I guess the big leaves are the amaranth. I don't see that it's growing any grain yet, but it's an experiment. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Yeah, this one's pretty. It's got red leaves. But yeah, the potatoes aren't flowering yet, so we have a few more weeks on the first round of potatoes. So, but yeah, the morning glories, these have buds, but no flowers. Oh yeah, it's been taken over. This one, I think it was holy basil. You can see like little guys here, but this purslane stuff is kind of taking over. But yeah, these seeds didn't do well either. Just the stuff that was already in the pot. So hard year to be a seed, unless you're a bindweed seed. And as you can see, the bindweed is quite plentiful. And that's actually a relative of the morning glory. You can see the shape of the flower is very similar to a morning glory. And this neighbor really doesn't like the weeds, and that's putting it mildly, which is why I have that barrier of cardboard there, because it's kind of an ongoing battle about me not wanting to, nuke the whole yard to kill things to try to grow grass, and But these are the shishitos, and they're quite plentiful. I just pulled, probably 30 a couple days ago. So this plant's happy. No cantaloupe on this one, so it might be one of those situations where it's like a female or a male flower and it needs the other one. I don't know. But it's pretty, and the bees like the flowers, so it's like, okay, whatever. And then, more zucchini. And then another zucchini plant that died, so I'll put something in there. We'll figure that out. Here's the zucchini. Oh yeah, the tomatoes. So a lesson in adaptation and adaptability. So it's been so hot. How hot has it been? So hot. So hot that tomatoes got sunburned. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I've been gardening in Colorado for 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. So I did, for a few days or so, rig some landscape cloth to kind of give some of them some shade. But boy, they just, some of the leaves just got toasted. And then, there was a suggestion that I buy one of those, shade screens. And it's like, how do you do that? I'm going to pan without being crazy. What do you do with a shitty rental and this, metal arbor thing that's one step from falling down? And I just couldn't figure it out. And I was like, oh, but this tree provides shade. So yeah, I just moved the ones that were having the serious problems over here. And so they get morning sun. Today it's kind of cloudy. But they get the morning sun until about 1 or 2. And they seem better, you know. And we've had some really strong rains. And the spider, I don't even understand. Is he, let's see if we can see him. I put this stick in there so he could get out, but he's chosen not to get out. But we have two little grasshoppers. There's a grasshopper, and there's a little green grasshopper. Yeah, I don't see the spider. I usually see him when I'm watering. I try to be careful when I'm watering this one, but I've seen him since the rain, so he survived the rain, which was crazy because that was aggressive. And the greens are doing all right. The Mizuno is coming in kind of all right, so everything looks farther back than it actually is. But yeah, you can see from the rain that everything's all muddy and crazy looking. But yeah, these tomatoes, they don't seem to have a problem with the amount of sun that they're getting. So, it's back. That card that I planted never did bloom, but that's all right. But yeah, so I moved some of the squashes over here, and they seem to be doing well with this level of sun. And like I said, I've already pulled a few. I think I pulled like 4 this morning. So, and we do have some green tomatoes. And that one's about to break. You can see how the tomato is, you know, it's going from green, it's getting a bit of a pinkier green. That's when you can take it off the vine, and then it'll ripen inside. It'll ripen inside, and then the plant has more, you know, kind of like energy to just keep growing. But yeah, these guys did fine with this level of sun, so it's just interesting. Yeah, I tied the sunflower because the wind was whipping. The wind was whipping, the rain was raining. It was a dark and stormy evening. This is a great plant. So the thing with this, yeah, and something, I might put some potato starts in there. So the lesson in adaptation, right? It's the strongest of the species are the most adaptable, the ones that can deal with change. And so, yeah, when given a situation where your tomatoes are being sunburned, you move them to where it's shady. And I think it's a good lesson, you know, for this year. I've been calling this year the Great Pivot because I've had so many things change. So many things change. And you have to work on yourself in relation to the change, or you're going to be the one that gets all sunburned and crispy. Yep. That might be a Darwin quote. I don't know. This I thought was nettle, but I have never seen these barbs on anything, like stinging nettle, like the leaves sting, but this, Jesus. And I took part of it off and took it inside to dry because, you know, nettle is good for allergies. And allergy season has not finished. But boy, those barbs are no joke. So I'm not sure what that plant is. Yeah, gotta figure that out. The dill's finally coming in. That's exciting. And then I think that's borage, maybe? I don't remember. I'd have to look. This tree is all right. Yeah, so lesson in adaptation and finding some shade if you're having a problem. And then, yeah, so the night that it was the dark and stormy, I did tie the sunflowers up because the wind was whipping through so bad. And I also do talk to the elementals when that's happening. So the sylphs are the wind beings. This sunflower is probably like already 9 feet tall. That one's like 9 feet tall. I do talk to the elementals. So the sylphs are the wind beings, and the nymphs are the rain, the water beings, and then the gnomes are the earth beings. And I will ask that they protect my plants. And they always have, you know. I've been talking to the elementals, since ever I learned how to do it, so 15, 20 years ago. Things always tend to be okay. You know, you want to do do what you can do to help people. Like, you don't want to, just set them up for disaster, and you got to work with the elementals is my point. If there's something you can do, but you know, things tend to be all right. Things tend to be all right. So just when you have some harsh weather, ask the elementals to help you out. Yeah, I finally have some cucumbers. So that's fun. Been battling those damn cucumber beetles. So here's a cucumber. Oy, oy. And yeah, they're just going to hopefully grow up the catio. This plant, even though it has fruit, does not look great. So here's a pretty sunflower. You look pretty with the sky, the moody sky in the background. And isn't this interesting? Every calendula flower is yellow. Like, I did not segregate my seeds last year. And after the fact, I was like, ooh, that might not have been too smart. But like every calendula is yellow every seed I grabbed, that's just crazy, right? So these are radishes, the flowers. That's one of the ways you can combat the cucumber beetles is you let the radish go to flower. And I guess the cucumber beetles don't like they don't like the smell. Well, I'll tie him up later. Yeah, so things are doing things. This was the only thing that was down. That's why they're all dirty. But then I propped them up. That was the only, and it wasn't broken. It was just laying over. So, but yeah, this is, there's no tree in this yard. So when the wind gets whipping, it can be hard if you're a delicate plant. Shit, when the wind gets whipping, it can be hard if you're a human. And I do have these are sweet peppers. I saw that there's a bunch on the back over here. And they're purple, so that's cute. And they're little, so that's fun. I didn't realize that, these are like little bell peppers that are purple. So I'll pull them. These are some anchos. Those are some leaves that need to be stripped for the compost. And yeah, so the cauliflower that's, it's pretty, but I think that's called bolting. And so, the leaves will just be for the snails. And this is a cabbage. It's not really getting itself together in the round. So this experiment may not have worked, and that is okay. That is okay. Gardening is just one big experiment. But the jalapenos, I made a really nice fermented jalapeno. It's kind of like I suppose it would be a hot sauce, but it's thick. It's thick like a sauce. And I'll put the recipe in the comments. But you take a bunch of jalapenos and you seed and stem them. And then it's, I did add, since I had those 30 shishitos, I added them. And they're milder, but it's just I had bulk. So it's the jalapenos, and then you add a little bit of vinegar. So I added the fire cider that I make, and then salt and some garlic, and you blend it up. And I think also a little bit of water, and you blend it up and you let it sit on the counter overnight, and it kind of fuzzes up, it kind of foams up, it gets a bit frothy almost, and I guess that's the fermentation. And then you just jar it. And it's nice because it's still the spice of jalapenos, but imagine biting into a raw jalapeno and how aggressive and spiky that is. And so by doing the fermentation process, it makes it kind of like more round and soft. So you have a heat, but that isn't quite as aggressive. And no strawberries. No strawberries. Let's see, but we do have some lavender. Lavender. And who's missing from this video is Sadie. She is on her rounds and she's like got cat shit to do. So we'll end with some morning glories and an owl. Have a good day.